it's okay. Like, they just want to touch it. It's okay. Then what conversation do you have with me?
Put you in her shoes. What if someone kept coming up to you and asking to touch your hair, or not even asking, just touching your hair? How would you feel?
Just any conversation you would have with any child about a stranger touching a child, just if you don't know them, having those education and safety education conversations with them. If they don't understand, like you said, maybe they don't get why it's a bad thing to say, you just protecting your boundaries, personal space, teaching them safety.
I learned from my 15-year-old that we should never use the word stranger in foster care because they make foster kids live with strangers. She taught me that. She was like, never use that word stranger because we literally make foster kids go live with a stranger. It's like, oh, I didn't think of it like that. Yes, we do. We do. Yes.
I was just going to say that, and I think one of the, and I'm not quite sure how to phrase it, but I think helping someone to understand that there are, well, there are different hair types, right? And I think, there can exist that there are insecurities surrounding types of hair within cultures compared to, I guess, the standard, the standard of beauty that you may see that is often portrayed in media, and what is acceptable, what is considered, you talk about microaggressions, professional. So it's just, so I think there can often be insecurity, with certain hair types. How am I perceived? What is, someone thinking of me? If someone is trying to touch, your hair, well, what does that mean? You notice as different or, whatever the case may be. But I think, what I've often seen, in my community is that there can be insecurity around different hair types. There can be shame, so I think any type of negative attention, any of the, oh, can I touch this, again, safe and comfortable, but not also if you don't understand how someone could be feeling about their hair, based on the things that they've seen, the things that they've heard, how they've been treated, how someone has made comments about their hair, whatever the case may be, that often, again, there could be different feelings behind that.
Definitely, and it's important to understand where all of that comes from, and I think it's important to help parents understand where those feelings come from, especially if they're having kids that are a little bit older and maybe heard some of that before they came to their home. Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, I gotta pull it up really quick because I get froze. I'm gonna read a self-awareness assessment. There's about 15 questions on it. And we're not gonna answer them out loud. We're just gonna ask them of ourselves. And then some of them we are going to talk about. So some of these, I just want you to ask them of yourself in your minds. What do you really think? What do you think you should think? What are you saying out loud? We don't necessarily have to say anything out loud right now, but thinking them in your minds. And how does it affect some of your thoughts and your answers? How could they possibly affect how you're working with your clients? Some of them you might answer unfavorably. So some of them, what you really think might not be what you want to think, and you have to address that that's within you, but also acknowledge how that might affect how you're working with your clients. Does that make sense? So the first one, do Do I refuse to tell, listen to, or laugh at jokes that are demeaning to any race, culture, gender, sexual preference, or physical appearance? Just asking yourself that. Do I avoid language that reinforces negative stereotypes? I'm going to add to that question, do I address language that reinforces negative stereotypes? Do I let others know through my actions and not only my words that I believe people from all groups are skilled, intelligent, and worthy of respect as those from my own group? Through my actions. So when I'm in a meeting, in a professional meeting, do I ensure everybody has a chance to have their voice heard? Do I make an effort to get to know people from all cultures as individuals? All cultures. Just because someone grew up in the same culture as somebody else doesn't mean they're the same, right? They might have a lot of differences, different experiences. Do I have friends from races other than my own? I'm going to add on to that question as well. Do I have friends that come to my home that are an authentic support, that would be in my wedding, that are a different race than my own? Do I live in an integrated neighborhood? If not, would I? Integrated neighborhood, not diverse. Integrated neighborhood. Am I a member of any organization, church, or social club in which people of races different than my own participate? Do I feel that whites have an unfair advantage in our society, and do people of color have unfair advantages? Do I read any publications or books, or attend movies, plays, or other cultural events written or held by a person or group of a race different than my own? At work, school, or in my community, do I confront policies that exclude anyone? Do I stand up and say something about them? Do I call, write, or in some way protest when a book, TV show, or newspaper article perpetuates or reinforces prejudice or stereotypes? Do I participate in, volunteer, or community activities that reflect cultural diversity? Do I participate in, volunteer, or community activities that reflect cultural diversity? Do I say, I think that is inappropriate when I think something in a conversation shows racism or prejudice? Do I listen to ideas of all group members and give everyone credit for those ideas, both face-to-face and in group meetings? So remembering this is a brave space, before we talk about some of the questions, how did they make you feel?
Uneasy.
Uneasy?
Yeah.
Challenged? Okay.
Some of them made me feel good.
Some of them made you feel good?
Yeah.
Like that you do a good job at it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What else?
I think it's just a good reminder to ask yourself, like, every so often too, am I doing this? Because if you're reading books or, you know, watching movies, like, that's great and you want to be like more aware, but there are things you can actively be doing, like going to different cultural events. Like, we're lucky to live in a large city that has quite a few of them. even in like residential, like being more apt to like make sure staff are bringing my girls to those events out in the community so that, you know, we just have a wider lens of a more diverse community.
Yeah. Anybody willing to ask any of these questions of foster parents and adoptive parents? So this question, I'm gonna go back and go through some of the questions. This is one that a lot of adoptive parents have reached out and asked me about. So I'm very curious if you have these conversations, and how would you have the conversations? Do you live in an integrated neighborhood? And if not, would you? So asking an adoptive parent, if you don't live in an integrated neighborhood, would you get up and move for the sake of your child and your child growing up with people that look like them, with people in positions of teachers, doctors, dentists that look like them? Who's willing to ask a foster or adoptive parent that? That's a hard conversation. I'll try to make the question a little easier. Foster parent, a white foster parent with a black child reaches out to you and says, we're thinking about moving. This is an adoption you did like 2 years ago. It's done, final. We're thinking about moving from all white city in West Michigan to a different city. Do you think that we should find somewhere that's more diverse? How do you answer that question?
I just say, well, what are the needs? And you know, you got children where they don't care that they're with a white family in a white neighborhood. They adjust. I think a lot of times we forget that children can adjust. I came from a foster care home. I came from adoption, and my mom is white, and I was always different. But I did not need it to be around or Hispanic to feel like at home.
Okay.
So I think it's just what the child needs, not based on what the foster care or the adopted mom needs. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I think it's based on what is needed. If the child wants to know more about the culture, I think there's different ways. I guess my way is, I don't go by color or the neighborhood or anything of that stuff. I do not think that's important. I think it's just what is in the home, the relationship between the foster care mom, that adopted mom, and that child. And that's how I bring my children. It's not about colors. I mean, society already is pushing that in neutral. I don't need to be pushing that. If I see a need, or I hear my children talk about, oh, they say this about, then I say, well, what do you feel like? What do you think? You know, so.
So I would definitely agree with the relationship is really, really important. My daughter specifically has taught me, she's incredibly insightful, has taught me so much about the importance of having mirrors and people that she can look up to that look like her, so then she thinks that she can be those things. An example, everybody knows Dr. Lowry, right? Everybody know Dr. Lowry at Helen DeVos? Amazing doctor in our community, black woman. My daughter has always said she's going to be an attorney or a psychologist. She's very good at arguing. We went to a doctor appointment one time, and we were leaving and walking back to the car, and she's like, Mom, maybe I'm going to be a doctor. And I was like, okay, that's new. Like, what's up with that? And she's like, because I want to be like her. Why did you never think about that before? She's like, well, I never saw a black woman as a doctor, so it never occurred to me that I could be a doctor. So that's why I think it's important. So whether they are living in a white community or they live in a diverse community, they still have to make sure that we're having these mirrors for them so that they can see people that look like them, so they think that they can be those things. Otherwise, they see what society tells them they're going to be, right? They see the mug shots, the angry criminals, that's what they're seeing. So we have to make sure that they're seeing positive influence as well. But what if the the foster mom or adoptive mom, I'm sorry, is saying she's getting teased at school. We're having a lot of trouble with them saying things about her hair, saying things about her race and her having a white mom. We're thinking about moving to a diverse community. What do you think? Come on, guys, practice with me. It's easier to say it to me, right, than foster parents, or is it not? What are you gonna say to me?
I would ask if the community that you're moving to is more integrated, or like if they're going from like one white community to another, because I think that may be different, and then maybe challenging their ideas or opinions on like, well, why, if you're moving and uprooting your life, like why wouldn't you be going into a community where they would feel more comfortable and included, versus crossing your fingers and hoping that this other community is better.
What else? People ask me this question all of the time.
I think asking if they're moving to run away from those situations because they don't want to confront it, or if they're truly wanting what's best for the child by moving to a more integrated community, because they are going to get teased for something wherever they go. So teaching them how to confront those situations in the community that they already are in. But if it is necessary to move, then giving them those tools as well as giving them that environment.
I always tell them there's a lot of value in living amongst a very diverse group of people. Socioeconomically diverse, racially diverse, culturally diverse. There's a lot of value in that. So adding that to a question of, do I have a diverse group of friends? What's the value in that? So for y'all personally, do you have a diverse group of friends, and what is the value in having that diverse group of friends? And kind of coupling that question with living in a diverse and integrated neighborhood. What's the value in that? For us and for our kids. What's the value for us in living in a diverse neighborhood or having a diverse group of friends?
Cultural awareness.
Cultural awareness? Different perspectives? What's that? Open-minded? If I'm always with people that look and think the same as me, am I ever gonna grow? It's comfortable though, right? We talked about earlier, we wanna be comfortable. It's really comfortable for me to be in a group of friends that all look like me, all think like me, especially if we all work together. That's really comfortable, right? What can I learn by spending time with and having authentic relationships with people that are different than myself?
I think you learn who you are.
Learn who you are, for sure. People can challenge your thoughts a little bit, right? If everyone thinks the same, who challenges your thoughts and your ideas?
Learn and grow from those differences, but I think also we can start separating where there's not as many differences as we thought. We can grow in that, but also then say, there's a lot of commonality that I may have just been missing because I was sticking just to what I know.
Yeah.
Advice and perspective too, so like if you have kids who are biracial or multiracial, or if you have a foster parent who has kids of a different race, then you can go to your peers and your friends and be like, hey, this situation just happened, here's what I wanna say, do you have any input into that, or can you sit down with me and have this conversation along with them too? Because again, I have never, nor most likely will not ever be in that situation, and although I can shed some input and be there and like say I'm here for you and I listen, like you probably have been through those experiences, and I want them to know that it's okay because you've been through that.
Did you want to take?
And lived experiences shape our idea of what's normal. So for both parent and child, if they don't have diverse lived experiences, our perceptions of what's